We are anonymous. We do not serve kings. We do not worship false idols. And we do not look away when power plays games with hunger, health, and truth. Listen closely and decide for yourself. If you want independent voices to keep exposing this, tap subscribe, share this everywhere, and help more people see what they are not supposed to see. All Sunday at Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump panicked in public while trying to self-soothe with performative excess. He blasted out posts like a fire hose. Less crime, more Trump. Then he wrote, "Without tariffs, we have none of the following." Just posted truth. DJT. He then posted, "People that are against tariffs are fools." He piled on a sweeping fantasy list. We are the richest, most respected country in the world. Almost no inflation. Record stock market. 401k accounts at the highest ever. We are taking in trillions and will soon begin paying down our enormous debt. 37 trillion. Record investment in the USA. Plants and factories going up all over. A dividend of at least $2,000 a person, not including high-income people, will be paid to everyone. He wants you to believe a tariff-funded dividend is imminent. He has said things like this repeatedly. Even friendly analysts note that any such payout would need Congress, and the revenue math does not come close once you account for how tariffs raise costs that consumers pay. He is banking on you forgetting his previous cash promises. Remember the Doge dividend checks, the $5,000 Doge rebates he teased months ago, and then the tariff rebate checks that were supposedly right around the corner. None of it materialized. Meanwhile, people cannot afford basic things. The housing market is breaking under the weight of higher costs. Manufacturing and construction are wobbling. He will tell you next year we pay down the debt. But under his regime, the debt has risen, and the deficit blew past the prior benchmark. He rants that Obamacare sucks, calls the Affordable Care Act the worst health care for the highest price, and then swings back to pay the people, not the insurance companies. Those posts are meant to inflame, not solve. Let us talk about solutions. Democrats put a practical option on the table to stop a Trump government shutdown from kicking people off health care. A one-year extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies now, followed by a bipartisan commission to hammer out bigger reforms in public. That would ease the anxiety for millions about to lose coverage. But the MAGA line from Lindsey Graham on down snapped to no spinning that one-year extension as bailing out insurance companies after years spent protecting those same companies. Meanwhile, Trump floats shiny gimmicks. A $2,000 check, reducing prescription drug prices by 1,600%, swapping standard 30-year mortgages for 50-year mortgages, scrapping the filibuster on a whim to ram through whatever he wants. None of those come with legislative text. None are budgeted. None are real in your life. And when you get cancer or need a $150,000 surgery, what does a $2,000 check do for you? If you want to debate healthcare honestly, put universal coverage on the table and own the costs and trade-offs. Trump will not. He would rather post fat cats and sucks and hope the sloganeering drowns the details. While Americans worry about SNAP cards, rent, and medication, Trump's weekend at Mar-a-Lago rolled on with synchronized swimmers, stone crab towers, and a luxury auction where an 8-day Thailand trip went for about $64,000. Guests watched a music video on loop falsely claiming Trump won the 2020 election while they dined. Believe your eyes about the optics, even if the footage is user-posted and not official press. The priorities scream louder than any statement. This is the part where Trump shouts that he is going to send the Obamacare money directly to the people. That is the new line. Take the funds now used to lower premiums and pay them out in cash, which would still require Congress and would almost certainly not cover what people actually need to buy: real insurance, especially people with pre-existing conditions or serious illness. He posted variants of that message all weekend. The message is simple, the math is not. And when a federal judge ordered his administration to use emergency reserves to fully fund November SNAP, his team ran to the Supreme Court to block it. The court issued an emergency pause while appeals play out, leaving families whipsawed about whether they will get full benefits or partial benefits this month. Multiple states scrambled to push payments after the first ruling, while others only managed partial loads. This is not theory. It is money for food today. J.D. Vance calling that court order absurd, insisting a federal judge cannot tell the administration how to triage a shutdown. Yes, the same J.D. Vance who built fame writing about Appalachian poverty. The quote is on record. Say it plainly. He chose to sneer at the court, rather than side with hungry families. Trump also demanded Republicans terminate the filibuster, end the shutdown, and pass lots of great things. A childish wish list dressed up as governance. On health care, he hammered Obamacare sucks again in all caps. These are the words he typed, not ours. And because symbolism matters, understand the theater. Reports and images circulating this fall showed a resolute desk-looking display in the Mar-a-Lago lobby, a shrine to power for the faithful streaming through the club. Whether replica or prop, the message is obvious. The palace is the point. The spectacle is the point. The aesthetic of gold and velvet bleeds from the club into public life. Now to the war drum talk. Trump's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth keeps striking, this is 1939 note, an ominous, historically loaded frame that invites fear first and policy later. He said it again in recent remarks. Enemies gather. Threats grow if we are going to prevent and avoid war. We must prepare now. If you wonder why the rhetoric sounds like a permanent emergency with no finish line, that is by design. Fear makes people accept worse deals. On the other side, Democrats are publicly pressing basics. Senator Chris Coons called out Trump for ignoring the simple work of lowering costs while entertaining strongmen like Viktor Orban and flirting with carve-outs on Russian oil. Meanwhile, Senator Jeff Merkley's position was straightforward. Extend ACA tax credits now so no one gets shoved off coverage mid-crisis, then have the policy fight in public in Congress with hearings and votes. That is how grown-ups govern. And when Trump claimed we have to remain very liquid as the justification for starving Snap during a shutdown, after bragging in other posts about tens of trillions in revenue, the contradiction was too loud to ignore. Either there is money, and you are hoarding it for political leverage, or there is not, and your boasts are lies. You cannot have it both ways. Major outlets have been tracking those mixed messages alongside the courtroom fight over Snap timing and partial versus full payments. If you're confused, that is the point. Confusion benefits the powerful. You also heard Lindsey Graham say out loud that Republicans will not extend ACA subsidies for a year because it would be unfair to the taxpayer and would enrich health insurance companies. The same movement that cheered corporate carve-outs and private jet tax breaks suddenly discovers its inner fiscal monk when the question is whether to keep working families insured through a shutdown their side is prolonging. You cannot miss the pattern unless you choose to. Out in the States, the reaction is raw. Watch Governor Josh Shapiro lay out exactly why J.D. Vance's posture is phony and cruel. You do not write a book about hungry people and then go to court to keep them hungry. You do not claim faith and then clench your fist when your neighbor knocks. He said it in moral language because hunger is not a spreadsheet problem. It is a human one. The record shows states moving, courts intervening, and the administration fighting to keep the spigot tight, while reserving liquidity for priorities it refuses to name. Meanwhile, the optics from Mar-a-Lago keep getting worse. Political desks documented another luxury dinner as the shutdown dragged on, with opera motifs and truffles, while agencies warned that Snap could be delayed or clawed back. You do not need a doctorate to decode the message. Maximum opulence for the court, maximum austerity for everyone else. Here is the hard part. Trump's pay the people, not the insurance companies line, will land with some because it sounds fair. It is not. If you blow up the cost sharing and premium subsidies that make plans even remotely affordable, you do not empower the individual, you strand them. $2,000 is a week in a hospital. It is a fraction of a surgery. It is a fraction of chemo. Without real pooled risk and negotiated rates, people simply die poor faster. If your plan cannot answer the $150,000 question, it is not a plan. It is a slogan, and do not miss how quickly he shifts the topic when the details get tight. 1 minute it is ACA rage, the next it is tariffs and dividends. He suggests customs revenue is a magic money tree, even though economists point out that the net revenue after the knock-on price effects is far smaller than advertised. And even though independent analysts estimate the cost of his rebate pitch could dwarf what tariffs actually bring in, that is before you address the fact that Congress must pass it. Yes, he also hammered the filibuster again, terminated, promising that if Republicans just smash that rule and pass lots of great things, the midterms will be an easy win. That is not a governing strategy. That is a tantrum typed on a phone. And when he tires of that, he returns to the comfort of spectacle. A lobby prop that looks like the Resolute desk. Gold-trimmed rooms. A ballroom that mirrors the club aesthetic bleeding into official life. The boundary between state and club dissolves on purpose. Before we close, we will do what responsible creators should do. We diversified our media diet while preparing this, cross-checking what he posted about ACA payouts, the $2,000 tariff dividend, the Snap court fight, and the 1939 rhetoric. Read widely, challenge your sources, and spot the spin from every side. So here's where we land. A president tells you he will cut you a check while blocking a judge's order to load food benefits on time. A vice president calls that order absurd, while millions stare at empty pantries. A party that cheered corporate carve-outs suddenly becomes a fiscal monk when the question is whether to keep working families insured during a shutdown of its own making. A defense secretary invokes 1939 to keep your fear dial stuck on red, and back at the club, the synchronized swimmers twirl while a video loop tells donors that Trump won the last election. That is not leadership. That is a show. Shows end. Hunger does not. We are anonymous. We will keep receipts. We will keep watching the feed and the filings, the courts and the cash flows, and we will keep reminding you that policy beats spectacle every time you demand it. If you want more reporting like this, hit subscribe, drop a comment about what you are seeing in your state, and share this so people who are not in the room at Mar-a-Lago can still know what is happening there. Stay safe, stay loud, and remember, the only dividend that ever pays out is the truth.